Welcome once again to another episode of the Body and Mind Sports Show. I am your host, The Mind, and with me is my co-host, The Body. Body, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here again.
Pleasure's all ours. Today's episode, we have a whole whackload of topics, since this is the best time of year in sports, when every sport is pretty much on right now. Mm-hmm. So today, as always, we'll start off with our NFL review and preview, Week 5 reviews, Week 6 preview. That will then take us to the fight of the night. We'll be talking about Thursday Night Football.
Oh, put 'em up.
Bing, 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 bing. Then after that, we'll be talking some Major League Baseball. The playoffs are going on.
Playoffs? Did you say playoffs?
Playoffs? We can't even win a game.
Talk about playoffs.
Then we get to some NBA action. A lot of trades, a lot of madness. So we'll be doing a review of some of the off-season madness going on in the NBA.
Debatably in the NBA, there's more action in the off-season than there is in the regular season.
Oh, dear. You heard it here first.
And you'll hear it here again.
Yeah, that's true. After that, we swing over from the court to the ice for some NHL review of Week 1. And then we end our show, as we always do, with our Epic and Suck of the Week. The moment we both thought was epic and the moment we thought sucked for the past week. As always, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and please like us. We like being liked.
We're somewhat likable.
I think we're likable.
We're perfectly likable.
Cuddly, actually, like a bear. Like a stuffed toy.
Well, because we eat too much.
And we have hair.
Yes.
Speaking of hair, let's dive into week number 5 of the NFL.
It was a hairy week.
This week we've actually chosen 5 super special games that we want to review. So let's start with the Jaguars and the Steelers. America's team crushed the Steelers. How did this happen?
I don't know. I thought that being on the road for 3 straight weeks would hurt Jacksonville. If it wasn't for that, I might have considered them, but London, New York, Pittsburgh, 3 straight weeks. And I thought that would wear them out. Pittsburgh was the one who looked like they were on the road on 2 continents over 3 weeks.
Oh, man, does Roethlisberger just look like he's done?
You know, 2 things jumped out at me. Of course, I love this Jacksonville defense, both Roethlisberger and what I've seen of Pittsburgh this year. The one thing I'm noticing is over the years he's been infamous for buying more time to set up those big plays. And I'm not really seeing him break away from people to buy more time to create those big plays.
So break away, push over a defensive lineman, scramble out of the pocket.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that. And that's what leads to his big plays. Not so much dropping straight back and going 40 yards down the field. It's always that broken play, and I'm not really seeing that this year.
That's true. And I know for me, just one play that just stuck in my mind was late in the game anyway, after another sack, that the camera just, was just zooming in right on Roethlisberger's eyes, and just his facial expression in his eyes. Like, as soon as I saw it, it just looked to me like he was just done.
This was a career-high 5-pick game for him.
Yeah, I mean, 5, you never hear of such things from Roethlisberger.
No.
But he literally looked, his face looked like somebody that was, that he was actually reconsidering, why did I not retire to start this year? Like, he literally looked like somebody was ready to retire.
Maybe he had the right feeling last year when he's thinking about it.
That's what I'm thinking, because it just looked like his heart was not in it.
I wouldn't write him off yet, but it's not a good look. Because often we see something like this and we write someone off.
That's true.
And they do come back strong, but
that's
right now it's not looking good.
That's true, because I know the last time, I think it was 2 years ago, I think it was an early season game, I think it was New England and Oakland, I think it was, when I think it was maybe game 3 or whatever, or 4 of the NFL season, when I thought that was the year that Brady was going to start to tumble. And he did have the Patriots did have a bit of a rough start. And that one game against Oakland, it was kind of a rough game. and I had pretty much written him off. I was like, yep, okay, this is it, the beginning of the end for Tom Brady.
Was that the same year as the Kansas City debacle?
Yeah, and then the next year he went, and then in the very next game, yeah, he throttled Kansas City.
Well, no, I'm thinking there was the game against Kansas City where everyone thought he was done 2 or 3 years ago. And that was the un-Cincinnati Belichick press conference week.
Oh, yeah.
But people were even thinking, is this Brady's time? Is it time for Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah.
And then they just roared through the rest of the year.
Just rolled everybody.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe that's the case with Roethlisberger again as well. Maybe this week, this is one of those, shake it off. And next week, well, actually, did he even play next week, or they got to bye?
It's a good question. I think
they do play. They're playing Kansas City.
I don't think Le'Veon Bell's had a great year so far either.
That's true. We haven't heard him dominating like he usually does. Plus, also
Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown there, he's been having his issues as well with Roethlisberger, and even the previous week making like a big fuss over being wide open and not getting passes thrown at him.
And then taking out the Gatorade container.
Yeah.
What is it with wide receivers and sideline stuff? You had Antonio Brown in the Gatorade container. Was it last year, 2 years ago, Antonio Beckham, the field goal kicking?
That was last year.
I mean, I'm just thinking, WrestleMania, wouldn't be main event, middle of the card. Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham against a Gatorade cooler and a field goal mesh.
I'm still waiting for that wedding. I mean, he did propose to the field goal net. I'm assuming it said yes.
That might be the divorce match. It might have to be one-on-one with, Brown and the Gatorade container in a corner for each.
Sounds like a loser leave town match to me.
Loser leave town. Winner gets a settlement.
Oh, yeah, the money those fools make, it'd be a goodly sized settlement.
Though, when I seen from that Gatorade container, it had some aerial moves once Brown gets it going. It can fly. I was pretty impressed.
All right, so don't completely discount the Gatorade container in this matchup.
No, it has a shot. It's tough. It has character. Maybe more character than Beckham sometimes does.
Well, I don't think there's any debate on that one.
No, definitely more character than Beckham does. Brown, I think, has character, but there's times he could use better judgment.
Well, speaking of character, Seattle Seahawks, they had a bit of a test of their character going against the LA Rams this week.
Yes, and they came through. That defense looking every bit like the Legion of Boom.
Yeah, that was one of the questions of whether or not their defense has had its day and whether or not they're not too old, too uninspired, too overpaid, too whatever. But held the Rams 16-10 to only 10 points and held Todd Gurley to under 50 yards rushing too.
I think Goff threw the ball 47 times or something insane like that. They did become one-dimensional after a while.
Yeah, well, they obviously went in with a mission to shut down the Rams' running game, shut down Gurley, and they did that with a vengeance.
And they'd had some issues earlier in the year against the run, which is unusual for them, but it was the old Seahawk defense.
So for at least this 1 week, the Legion of Boom was back.
Mm-hmm. Strong.
Speaking of strength, Green Bay and Dallas, the glamour match of the week.
Oh, man, this was a high-scoring shootout.
Holy mother of mercy, 35-31, Green Bay beats Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seen Ezekiel Elliott ran well in this game. Aaron Rodgers' magic late in the game. One thing, more than the result, that jumped out at me, and we've talked about this, Devontae Adams, he played a great game. Mm-hmm. So when you look at him playing a great game, think he's ready to come back. And he played like he was ready to come back. But with all the injury concerns and concussion concerns, even though he looked ready, after that hit he took from Trevathan, 10 days before that, I'm kind of concerned with him being back that soon. He played like a guy who's ready to be back, but you kind of wonder in terms of long-term damage, how serious was the concussion protocol? Was he really okay? I have trouble believing it after that hit.
Well, yeah, after that hit, the fact that he was knocked out, he was out like a light.
Well, the mouthpiece even got flying.
Mouthpiece went flying, and you saw it. I mean, just the way his neck snapped back and everything. That was a nasty hit. That was as nasty as you can possibly get. And I mean, being stretchered off and everything, like that was a serious hit because like football players do not get stretchered off. Like they will walk off no matter, what's going on. Like this weekend we saw J.J. Watt, broken leg, and he walked off. Right? Like you figured, well, if anybody needs to be stretchered off, it's a guy with a broken leg. Mm-hmm. So I mean, the fact that Devontae got stretchered off in that Bears game, yeah, I couldn't believe he was going to play this game. So yeah, I question the same thing. It's like, was somehow this hit not as bad as we thought, but I have a hard time believing that because that was such a savage hit at full force. I don't know. I'm thinking that the concussion protocols.
I seriously question concussion protocols in both the NFL and the NHL.
Mm-hmm. Like obviously they've been doing some work in that regard, but I don't know. That's one of those moments when you see a guy get blasted that badly.
Well, I can't remember what school it was. There was a college in the States, and I can't remember the numbers. For some reason, I'm thinking it was a $60 million deal. But there was a college that had a lucrative deal to do concussion work research. And they actually turned down the deal or walked away from it because they said the NFL was too difficult to work with.
It wasn't Harvard, was it?
I think it was an Ivy League school. I can't remember if it was a Harvard or a Columbia or.
Because I know there was that former pro wrestler.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, whose career ended because of concussions.
I'm thinking Nowitzki or something. Christopher
Nowitzki. I think so. That he actually started this concussion. This actually company basically set up to study concussions, and I know his and he partnered up. I think with Harvard because that's the school he went to. To basically study players' brains, and he's even his organization has actually managed to get the brains of some of these deceased former football players who've kind of donated their brain to this cause to study it. So that wouldn't surprise me. It sounds so far that the NFL really has done everything it can to kind of block any study into concussions.
Yeah, it sounds more like public image thing. We're concerned, but it's not a good look when a school walks away from a highly lucrative deal because the NFL is too difficult to work with and won't cooperate.
Yeah.
It sounds like the NFL wants public perception to look like they're concerned.
Yeah.
But in reality, I don't know if they could care less.
That's the thing. Usually with a lot of these things, unfortunately, the only time it'll change is when it comes down to money. Mm-hmm. And basically, if somebody managed to come along and actually bring together a legitimate lawsuit against the NFL, in which the NFL has to pay hundreds of millions of dollars, then they'll get serious about it. Until then, in reality, they don't really need to get serious about it.
No, I agree with you. And I think the NHL is the same, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think the NHL has done any kind of a better job at the whole concussion deal. Speaking of injuries, that does take us to our next game, Kansas City and Houston. Kansas City won this battle, but big overshadowing story is J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt and Merciless, another really good pass rusher. But Watt, second straight year, he's out for the year. Last year they had Merciless and Clowney to pick up the slack. Now there's no Merciless either.
Yeah.
So now it's Clowney and a bunch of run stuffers. As soon as you get your quarterback, your defense is decimated by injuries.
Yeah.
Houston might be great for overs the rest of the way, though.
Given this one, Kansas City 42 over Houston. I never thought anybody would be putting up these kinds of numbers against Houston.
No.
So given that their defense is losing some big holes, some big pieces, big holes in that defense. Yeah, it looks like from now on, Houston's going to be involved in college scores.
Fantastic. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching for all you bettors out there. Over. On KC side, Alex Smith, he's looking like a real quarterback.
He does.
42 points.
The Chef's looking like a real contender.
Exactly. Still undefeated. The only undefeated team left.
Last man standing.
I guess we'll see when going forward. But can anybody beat the Chefs?
I think they'll be somewhere in the season. I don't see 16-0.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, well, mind you, the division is, well, actually, we'll get to it later with the car injury and that, but
Yeah.
I don't think Oakland's what people expected this year, though I was a little cautious about them.
Yeah.
Denver's really good. The Clippers have disappointed.
Yeah.
I still think they lose a game somewhere, but they, to me, are legitimate Super Bowl contenders.
They do. I think pretty much anyone who had any doubts coming in to the season with KC, I think after 5 weeks of this kind of just domination, like they have dominated everybody they've played so far. I would think right now they've got to be the Super Bowl favorites.
I would agree.
Like Patriots or no Patriots.
Patriots don't look like the Patriots now.
That's the thing. And like KC, it's like the offense is rolling, which has always been kind of a struggle for them. And they've always had a capable defense. Yeah, KC, impressive. Must-watch TV.
Mm-hmm. KC doing a lot of three-man pass rush and dropping into coverage a lot.
That's unbelievable.
They will bring pressure sometimes. They haven't gone completely conservative on defense.
Yeah.
But they're really squeezing away passing lanes in that right now. It's working out for them.
So the pressure is really like coverage pressure.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll throw the house. But yeah, they seem to be a lot of bend, don't break, and just love coverage.
Well, speaking of breaking,
you hard to judge from the first game. The stats weren't much, but you don't expect stats to be much. Minnesota's a very good defense. Trubisky has no real wide receivers. It's his first start. Was he 12 for 25, 100 some odd yards? One touchdown, one pick, though the one touchdown should have been a pick in the game, so we'll see over time with that. Sam Bradford, hurt again.
Yeah, same story.
No, nothing new here. Nothing to see here.
The one thing, when you look at Bradford, like, he is a real thin guy. Like, compared to every single other player. Like, the kickers are huge compared to this guy.
And it's always his knee, too.
Yeah, like, he's a tiny, skinny, he's tall, but he's a tall, skinny, just beanpole. Like, I think that boy needs to eat. Like, he needs to, like, go to McDonald's, order a few, like, he needs to supersize himself.
He just needs a Red Cross hat to represent all the injuries.
Well, he needs to wear the red jersey during the games.
Yeah, he's been red-shirted.
Don't hit me. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it's not so much surprise when you see him. You see such a slight frame. Yeah, how could you possibly handle the punishment of a football game when you're like, that small a guy? So it's like, Sam Bradford, put down the salad fork and pick up the steak knife.
Well put.
And that's our Week 5 review. Week 6, we have a whole whackload of games. Kick it off with Philly and Carolina. Both are 4-1. That surprises me. Does that surprise you?
You know what? It was hard to kind of peg these teams coming in. With Philadelphia, they started this well last year, and where it fell apart last year is when Lane Johnson got suspended for 10 games, their offensive right tackle, and then all the pass protection fell apart. This year, they went and picked up LeGarrette Blount from Philly to give them a running game. That's Sproles and Smallwood, but Sproles is out, I think, for the year. Smallwood got hurt, but they still... And just the receivers they picked up. So Wentz has been making plays down the field, maturing. But I'm still surprised, even though I like Philly's front four. Fletcher Cox has been hurt. Their secondary's been banged up, but they still keep finding ways to win. So, yeah, I guess when you break it down, actually I'm pretty surprised. With Carolina, that team's a knuckleball. You just don't know what to expect from them. They could be like 15-1, 6-10. You just don't know what you're getting from them. This year, it's already been a bit of everything. For a few weeks, it was great defense and they couldn't score. Now they seem to be moving the ball. Mm-hmm. This game, it's on 4 days rest. I kind of like Carolina because they're at home. They don't have to travel. It's not a long trip. And they're just a more physical team. And I think considering it's off the short rest, just being more physical might help them out.
Well, I was surprised that Cam Newton kind of like recovered from his foot and mouth disease back in Week 5 there when he talked about that female reporters don't know anything about routes. Mm-hmm. So I actually thought that that the criticism he got, and well-deserved criticism for that idiotic Cam Newton, to me, just reminds me of like a spoiled brat, basically. You know, if everything is fine, you know, and if he's getting his cookies, he's getting his toys that he wants, and he's all happy and everything, but the second anything goes wrong, suddenly he's like pouting and he's whining and crying and just being a total Class A jerk.
He can deal with prosperity, but he cannot deal with adversity.
He cannot.
I want to meet that woman about the routes, though. It's like, because man, to meet a woman who knows of football like that.
No kidding.
Be awesome.
Wow.
I know they're out there, but you know, I know a lot of guys who don't even know football that well. I think they do.
Nope.
Actually, it might turn out to be intimidating, actually. Yeah, I know my stuff. Yeah, no, I don't.
Well,
I know nothing.
Well, speaking of knowing nothing, that takes us to Chicago-Baltimore. Two pitiful offenses. Will Trubisky perform better in the second game?
Well, Joe Flacco looks like he's back, unless that was just a project to play in the Raiders' defense. This one is in Baltimore?
It is.
Oh, yeah, I like the Ravens.
Yeah, so this looks like pretty much slam dunk for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though there's been a lot of games this year that look like slam dunks that haven't been.
I know we have Cleveland-Houston. I don't know what to even make of this game.
Cleveland-Houston.
I guess somebody will win, but
this might be the 1 week it's hard to take Houston for the over, because I don't know if Cleveland can hold up their end.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, Houston might just literally blow Cleveland out of the park.
Yeah, I just like Houston's offense against Cleveland there.
Yep. No, it's a good call. Green Bay, Minnesota, divisional matchup.
Yeah.
Crazy game here. Aaron Rodgers, is he going to like tear up Minnesota like he
that's
tearing up teams this year?
It's a good question, because they've been doing it despite the banged up offensive line, but Minnesota's defense is something special at home. Now, having said that, I just don't see Case Keenum keeping up with the points, even against the slowed down Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, is Keenum playing this weekend?
I'll have to look. Let me see how banged up. Well, even if Bradford's in.
Well, even if Bradford, mind you, if he plays, he's still going to be playing injured.
I mean, I wouldn't write off Minnesota in that defense at home, but I like the Packers here.
Yeah. Well, Packers, I mean, if we've seen nothing else from Aaron Rodgers over the years, is that it doesn't really matter who's in the lineup. He finds ways to still generate offense.
Yes, he does.
Detroit, New Orleans. It's a case of kind of like a suddenly struggling Detroit Lions and suddenly surging New Orleans Saints.
That's interesting, because I believe Detroit is a sizable underdog in this one. Let me take a look. They're 5-point underdogs.
My goodness, how the mighty have fallen there.
Now, that's hard to judge, because Detroit's played so well, it's kind of hard not to take a shot on them. But the Saints had the bye this week. Sean Payton has an extra week to prepare.
Yeah.
And for 2 weeks before that, the Saints' defense has actually looked pretty impressive.
They have.
So it's kind of hard to bet against the Saints.
So that's the thing. That's been the problem with the Saints, is just their lack of defense. If all of a sudden, if this defense is actually for real,
they just have to be decent.
Watch out.
Yeah, the way Breeze puts up points, they just have to be decent.
Exactly.
And just having Adrian Peterson of New Orleans, which we'll talk about later.
Oh yeah, that's coming. That's coming in the Epic and Suck.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. Miami and Atlanta. Is this just going to be Atlanta just taking Miami to the woodshed and throwing away the key?
You know, I look at this game because Atlanta should slam them at home. The two things are, Miami's just not scoring points with smoking Jay Cutler there. But Atlanta, Matt Ryan,
he's playing like he's been smoking something.
Yeah, but Matt Ryan's back to turning the ball over again. So I would think Atlanta, but it's hard to trust them right now with.
Still, though, how can
it's against Miami, though.
How can you bet on a Jay Cutler team?
I can't.
You can't. Like, there's just certain things that you just don't do.
I know.
You don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't sleep with another man's wife, and you do not put any money on Jay Cutler.
No, and I look at this game, taking Atlanta to win won't pay because I think they're an 11-point favorite. And on the spread, I don't know if I could. Yeah, I'd leave that game alone.
Yeah, good call. Hey, a battle for first place between the Patriots and the Jets. Jets,
Jets! Unbelievable.
3-2, both teams. The suddenly surging Jets.
The underdog, Tom Brady, goes to see the legend, Josh McCown. Wait, what?
Josh McCown, legend killer.
Josh McCown, legend killer. Wow. Yeah.
Let the sink into your head. Are the Jets not on a 3-game winning streak right now?
They are on a 3-game winning streak, which is 3 games more than I expected them to take all year, never mind in a row.
All year? I didn't think they'd win 3 games over the next 2 seasons. I thought 0 this year and probably 2 next year.
The thing with speculation is they were tanking not so much the players but management. So if that's the plan, management's probably upstairs. There goes our draft pick, slamming and crashing tables, and just destroying stuff. Because I don't know if the Jets can keep this up all year. But it'll be interesting to see if New England blows them out, or if the Jets stay in it, because I don't know what we're getting from the Patriots right now.
The thing is, the Jets always play the Patriots hard.
Mm-hmm.
Every year, even
in New York, even when they're garbage.
When they have horrifying years, and it doesn't matter if it's in New York, or Jersey, I should say, or Boston, they're just tough against the Patriots.
Yeah. This could be an interesting game.
This might actually be a fun game to watch, what initially was supposed to be a write-off. Speaking of write-off, though, San Francisco, one of our 0-16 contenders, goes to Washington. This a slam dunk? Redskins crush San Francisco? The end shoot score?
Should be. What should be isn't always what is, but I really like Washington over them there. Mm-hmm. It's hard not to.
Go San Fran. Go San Fran. You can do the 0-16. Have the perfect season. I'm cheering for you. Actually, I'm cheering against you, but boom.
I'm cheering for you to fail.
Exactly.
Well, I'm cheering for anyone to fail. I have a bet that anyone can go 0-16 this year. I made this in the preseason. 16-1. Someone will go 0-16.
Well, you've got various candidates out there right now.
I expected the Jets to be my only legitimate candidate. I have numerous candidates out there working for me.
And the Jets are not
working the fields for me. Failing momentously for me.
Working hard
at getting nothing done. Fantastic.
Go Niners. Fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, how about, well, not really fantastic, kind of like fantastic times -1. We have the Clippers and the Oakland Raiders.
If I wasn't a Raider fan, I'd be disgusted by this game.
I'm disgusted even talking about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of this one. I don't see... And is David Carr supposed to be back or questionable to be back?
Yeah, Derek Carr is supposed to be back.
Derek Carr, yeah, I was thinking of his brother, yeah.
Yeah, he's the one who's still being sacked in Houston.
Yeah. He got rocked so much in Houston, J.J. Watt's paying for it now.
Yeah, Derek Carr, somehow he broke his vertebrae 2 weeks ago, and miracle of medical science, after a broken back, he's back playing NFL football.
Either that prognosis or is an out-and-out lie, or the Raiders aren't thinking this out through and they're going to lose him for the year eventually.
I have to think the prognosis was an outright lie, because there's no way the Raiders are going to risk their franchise player on like a game against the Chargers of all people. Like, this is a crappy team that EJ Manuel even should be able to beat.
Oh, you don't have the loss of faith I have in EJ Manuel.
That is true. Your proximity brings your faith even down.
Hi.
But so you figure that Oakland, no dice?
No dice.
So it's the LA Chargers all the way for this one.
The Clippers may pull it off.
Yikes.
Unless Carr's healthy and playing. I I don't know how healthy he is. And I have no faith in EJ Manuel.
I'm just surprised that Derek Carr's back, but I guess we'll see. Here's another contender for your 0-16, the Giants. Who would have thunk that?
Oh, the Gigantes.
So suddenly the Gigantes looks like they have a chance.
Oh, they have a strong chance. Beckham out. Marshall out. Harris out. McAdoo still there.
Yeah, it's I've never seen one team have so many injuries. Like all their running backs are basically injured. All their receivers are injured. Linemen, they've injured some linemen
The
too.
Packers been almost as banged up this year at times.
So this should be a walk in the park for Denver, I would think.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah. And lastly, we'll talk about Indianapolis going into Tennessee. You had a crazy thought here about what to do with Andrew Luck.
Oh yes, it's more or less just a question. It's a thought, and I seriously wonder how much better. I know Andrew Luck's a great player, but how much better would Indianapolis be right now if Andrew Luck was playing? I know some people say, "Oh, he'd get him another win or two," but really, what have they done in the last year or two, even with him in the lineup? So just the devil's advocate kind of question. What would happen if you went with Brissett and traded Luck for a bunch of draft picks? And you already have high draft picks because, well, hard to say what the record is. I know people would say that's crazy talk, but I don't know. They have so many holes on that team that just a quarterback isn't going to carry them.
Mm-hmm.
How many picks could you get for would you entertain the thought?
I would.
Of trading Andrew Luck for a bunch of draft picks.
I would. Like, as great a performer as he is, the issue is that Colts haven't gone anywhere with him because they're such a horrifyingly bad team. Like, they have nothing outside of Andrew Luck.
And they're still winning with Brissett.
Yeah, so actually Brissett, surprisingly, has actually been a pretty capable quarterback. And he's also a young quarterback. And he's also an uninjured quarterback. Which is a huge problem for Luck right now. This is like 2 years in a row, at least two, that he's had some serious injuries keeping him out of games. So yeah, like this could be an ongoing problem for Luck. So yeah, this would be a crazy move, but hey, this is like the best time to trade him.
I know it's not
now.
Yeah, I know it's not an in-season type move usually, but it'd be something to really explore in the off-season, I think. Especially because I think he will be back at some point in time. So when he comes back, how much better than Brissett does he play? Mm-hmm. And I don't mean because he'll play better than Brissett, but how much better? Will it be that much better, or will everyone just say it's that much better because they're in love with Andrew Luck?
Well, that's the thing. And if all of a sudden they can make one of these like crazy mad trades for, like, unlike making a trade for somebody's first round pick, which as much confidence as you may have in that pick, right? You've never seen this guy play a game in the NFL. Well, we know what Andrew Luck can do in the NFL. He can dominate. Mm-hmm. So what if they get things like 3 or 4 years of first-round picks, 3 years of also second-round picks? Some team comes along and says, I'll give you my next 3 first-round picks, my next 3 second-round picks, and blah, 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 whatever else.
Teams have given away everything for the unproven.
Yeah. So imagine if you're giving what you're going to give away for a proven all-star.
And he's not that old.
Yeah. He's still a young guy, lots of talent. For a team that actually just needs a quarterback.
There's many of them. Many.
Yep. So I don't think it's that bad a thought. So with that is our Week 6 preview.
And I think I have the ideal landing spot for him.
Oh.
San Francisco. He went to college at Stanford.
Interesting.
I don't know if he's from that area or not.
But does San Francisco have the team to surround him with, though?
But yeah, they'd be giving those away, so that might be down the drain too.
Yeah.
So
because right now they're fighting for 0-16.
Mm-hmm.
So
they need more than just a quarterback.
Now Denver, that would be a perfect team for them, because there's a team with an uncrushable defense, and they just need, if they had a high-powered QB, Andrew Luck in Denver, It's like peanut butter and jelly.
I want to scroll through all the teams would be too time consuming. There's so many that I could use them.
Yeah. Well, there's far too many. With that, though, that leads us into our fight of the night. Ding, 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 ding. Today we are talking about Thursday Night Football.
I hate it.
You already know where the body stands on this one, so make your case. Why do you hate Thursday Night Football?
I think most of the games aren't that greatly played. The San Francisco Rams game a couple weeks ago might have been the best game of the year, but that's the exception to the rule. And what does it say when you look at your slate of Thursday games and your best game was the Rams and 49ers? Another legitimate thing I have, well, a couple legitimate arguments I believe I have, we were talking about player safety. 4 days later, you're going out and banging heads again 4 days later. I don't know. That sounds like a player safety issue to me. I don't know how ready guys are to go and play tackle football again at a professional level 4 days later. The players don't really want it. The coaches don't really want it. I don't know how the TV ratings have been, but I don't think they've been fantastic. And apparently Vegas doesn't even like it that much. So who's this really benefiting? I'm sure some of the advertisers, maybe the ratings are better than other stuff you'd stick on Sunday. And I remember before I used to think, I'd like to have another night of football, but New England. I didn't see much of this game, kind of glad. And you would think New England, Tampa Bay, exciting game. I don't know, neither team looked the way they could to me. I think a large byproduct of that is playing for 4 days later.
Well, oddly enough, you mentioned that you enjoyed the first Thursday night game of the year, which, oddly enough, is not even a Thursday night football game. It's actually Sunday night football on Thursday.
The NFL has a concussion issue.
Only in America, my friends. Sunday night football on Thursday. Yes. I, on the other hand, do reason that I like to have an appetizer with my meal. It's like an appetizer is basically, as Eric Cartman once said on South Park, that's the food we eat to make us more hungry. So the appetizer, the Thursday Night Football, is that nice tiny little morsel of appetizer, that amuse-bouche, if you will, that you eat it and you're like, that was pretty tasty, but I want more. I want more of that. This was a tease. It's like it tasted pretty good, but there's parts of it that is like, leave me, it wasn't so great, like, but I feel there's more coming. And then that's when Sunday comes and you just get these slate, like the big, huge, massive, like 7-course dinner of football on Sunday. And then Monday night, I wouldn't really call that the dessert. That'd be more like the recovery from the giant meal. That's like when you basically have the big giant turkey dinner and then you just basically lay on the couch with your suddenly giant belly and you just kind of like burp the day away. That's kind of like Monday Night Football. But Thursday is that tasty, delicious morsel.
You said appetizer?
Appetizer.
To me, it's more like that self-inflicted bout of depression you go through before you feel the joy of Sunday.
Madness.
Oh.
More football is never a bad thing. Not only do I like Thursday Night Football, I don't like the color rush. That needs to go. But I know why it's there, because the NFL is making truckloads of money off of it. But I want more football, because in the fall, when we start to get these Saturday games as well, I love it. Then you got football on Thursday, you got football on Saturday. Usually it's like a double header on the Saturday, and then you got football on Sunday. It's like, sweet baby Jesus, this is Florida football. More is better.
I just feel like then you got that whole slate on Sunday, and now your Sunday slate's been diluted because games have been sent to other times of the week.
No. And
then I might be looking at those 2 lame-ass 3 o'clock games because there wasn't as much on Sunday because someone gave something on Thursday and Saturday. And
go Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, go home.
And that is our fight of the week, which now leads us to...
I just want to bottle you right now.
Get in the cage, boy.
I think our most inspired fight of the week, and it's over Thursday Night Football.
And speaking of fights, that leads us to Major League Baseball. We have playoffs going on.
Playoffs?
Playoffs? It's the best time of the year in good old baseball land. So let's review a couple of the wild card games that already happened, and then we'll look at the divisional matches that are going on. Wild card, we had Yankees and Minnesota. Yankees won 8-4, eliminated the Twins. Were you surprised by that?
Not really. I thought it'd be high scoring. I thought the Yanks would win. Never say never in the wild card, but the Yanks have owned Minnesota, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, and going into the game, I think it was basically a thought that Minnesota had like some great home run hitters, but not really much after that.
Yeah, and not much pitching, and that pretty much showed in that game.
Yeah. Arizona Diamondbacks, they beat Colorado in a slugfest, 11-8. I was actually surprised at the
How high scoring it was?
Incredible amount of scoring. I actually thought this would be a little closer.
I kind of thought this. Yeah, I kind of liked Arizona a bit here, but I had no super strong opinion. But I thought I didn't expect 11-8. I wasn't sure what to expect, but 11-8 certainly wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, and given that there was like, a couple of times in which it looked like Arizona was home and free, and
I believe it was 6-0. Colorado closed the lead to like 6-4, 6-5.
Yeah, I think it was like down to 6-5, and they closed it then, and then Arizona was again up. I think 8-5, and then they came back 8-7. Like,
it's one thing about this time of year. There's so much going on. It's hard to keep track of something because a lot of it's on at the same time.
That is true. We need multiple TVs, basically. But yeah, Arizona, though, deserving winners. I think we had both picked that they would beat Colorado because, again, pitching rules all, and Arizona pitching is just plain better than Colorado pitching.
Though when we get later into this playoff discussion, pretty soon, pitching hasn't been really as much as you'd think in the postseason.
So let's talk about that. We have the divisional matchups. So currently we got Washington and the Cubs. Cubs are leading that series 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Pitching, that's been the secret.
That's actually been the best series for starting pitching. Strasburg and Scherzer both wasted great outings and lost. Quintana pitched well for the Cubs yesterday. Well, we're doing the show on Tuesday, so on Monday's game, in Game 3 there. Mm-hmm. It's pretty amazing, though. One of the things you're seeing in the playoffs, I think that series might be one where you're seeing the starters go a bit further at times. It might be closer to the old school, though you're still seeing a lot of bullpen use. But that has been far, for most of the series, the best quality starting pitching going through it the whole series. What little I've watched of it, I've thoroughly enjoyed, though.
Yeah, no, the games in this series, at least, they've actually been, actually close matches. So both teams basically fighting each other evenly, like 3-zip Cubs, 6-3 Nationals, and then 2-1 Cubs. So, yeah, these have been kind of like real hardcore, well-fought baseball games. Not crazy mad scoring, but actually good pitching duels.
Yeah, not like the other series so far. The other series have been pretty crazy so far.
So do you see the Cubs taking this one and going to defend their World Series title?
That's a good question. Washington's only got their bats going in one game so far, so they really have to turn it around. And it hasn't been just this series. It's been the playoffs in general every year.
Yeah.
Because, so far in games 1 and 3, was it? I'm just looking for the first game stats here with Strasburg on the mound. So this is what Washington's wasted between games 1 and 3. Between Strasburg and Scherzer, 13 1/3 innings, and given up 3 runs and lost both games.
Jeez. Yeah, that's just cruel.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
No, this one, yeah, this is a pick 'em, but I still think Washington's going to come back.
They may.
I think this is finally going to be the year where they bust through.
Well, if they could start getting the hitting, especially in Chicago, because Game 2 we thought they might have broke through, but that was at home. If they could break through once on the road, that might be what they really need. And they're really going to need it just to survive.
Yep.
But if they could get back to Washington, they have a legitimate chance.
And oddball little factoid, the Nationals management, stadium management, has been banning Cubs fans from bringing the W flags into Nationals Park.
Have they?
Yeah, which I find quite ironic because doesn't the city of Washington start with a W?
Well, shouldn't Washington take anyone's culture of winning in the playoffs in that ballpark?
Yeah, exactly. Next series, we got Yankees and Cleveland, currently tied 2 games apiece. This has completely surprised me. I thought Cleveland was just going to blow the Yankees right out of the water.
Yeah, I thought Cleveland in 4. But man, yeah, the Yanks have been sticking in there. Yanks have a bullpen to match Cleveland. Severino gave them a really strong outing. The Yankees have been getting to the starting staff of Cleveland as well, which has been a surprise.
Yeah, there was the one, Game 3, where Yankees staved off elimination and won 1-0. So talk about a classic pitchers duel between Tanaka and Miller. And
that might be the only one in the whole playoffs outside the Washington Cubs series.
It's true, because like this one, like the Indians went up 2-0. Took the first 2 games, and then Yankees had that squeaker, and then 7-3 in the last game. So I mean, it all comes down to like one more game, and it's going to be Sabathia and Kluber. Like, you can't ask really for a better matchup between both teams. They're 2 aces going up against each other at the end.
No, you know what? It's interesting too. Well, Severino's really been the Yankees' ace, but Sabathia has rediscovered himself this year. He's become more of a finesse pitcher, and it's paying off for him. Interesting thing about this, too, is in the Yankees 1-0 win, and this has been a theme of the playoffs quite often, Carrasco went 5 2/3, gave up 3 hits, no runs, and gets pulled from the game. It seems like these managers are in an absolute hurry to get to the bullpen.
Yeah, there's a lot of over-managing of pitchers.
There is.
A lot of starters, both in this series and the next series. We're going to be talking about Boston and Houston.
Oh, it's happening everywhere from the looks. I don't know how much about the Dodgers-Arizona series, but the Boston-Houston series has been absolutely ridiculous for this.
Yeah, they're taking out, Tim Sale in the last game? What did he pitch? A couple of innings?
I think he pitched closer to 4.
4 innings?
And let me take a look. I know Price went 4 the one day, but that was he's not ready to start yet.
Yeah, and game 3, David Price. He came in relief, air quotes there.
He was amazing in relief.
Yeah. But pitched the majority of the game, though, in relief. But either way, though, the Astros did take the series 3-1.
Yeah, yesterday Sale went 4 2/3 out of the pen, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned. And Verlander came out for 2 2/3 for Houston.
Yeah, so
I don't know if that was completely necessary.
Yeah, is that just to get him some work? Like, is that the whole point of it?
Basically, AJ Hinch, Houston's manager, just said he wanted to end it there if he could.
Well, then, well done, because he did. Houston on through. Is that a surprise to you?
No,
not a surprise to me either. I also figured Houston, better pitching, better hitting, better team.
Yeah.
Last series, we have the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. This one was a sweep.
I was surprised it was a sweep. I kind of like the Dodgers, but I liked them in 5. And no, they look like they're back to the form they were before their slump.
Yeah, so basically, obviously, with the result of this series, they've completely shaken off that slump of theirs and are back to the Dodgers that handily won that division.
Well, it says something when you lose 16 of 17 games and you still have 104 wins on the season.
And like a 10-game lead or whatever on the next team.
That's like the team that went to the wild card. It's
unbelievable.
Both wild card teams were from their division.
It's unbelievable.
It's not even in their league.
It's just unspeakable. So I guess based on their amazing regular season, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. But given that the Diamondbacks are not a bunch of ham and eggers, like this is a legitimately good team with good pitching, good hitting. The fact that and I mean they were fairly dominated by the Dodgers.
Yeah, they were ham and egged in this series.
Yeah, like Dodgers won 9-5, 8-5, 3-1. Like
high scoring, low scoring, didn't matter. It was never really in doubt.
yeah, like Dodgers just took it to them in Arizona. Thanks for coming out.
Took them to the proverbial woodshed.
Oh yeah. So with 2 series are done, 2 to go. I still think it'll be Cleveland against the Yankees, and I still think Washington. And you think Cubbies will pull it out?
I don't have much faith in Arrieta.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets to Game 5, it's Strasburg. No, I like Washington.
Okay. And Yankees Cleveland?
I'm going to go with Cleveland because I originally took them, but it's kind of tempting to take the Yankees there.
Bronx Bombers. They might be back.
Teams with chemistry like that are kind of scary. Sometimes, I don't know what it is about baseball, but sometimes chemistry will really carry you. The Yanks have chemistry right now.
That is true. That they do with their.
Sometimes
they doing the wild celebrations. And
yes,
everything?
they were the fake news conferences or
the news conferences. Yeah. That's right.
Those are awesome. Team like the Yanks is scary because sometimes, even though they don't have the horses other teams have, sometimes it's that team of destiny, if you believe in that.
Yeah, and I do. Because we've seen it so many times in the past. You never discount that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. In many sports, yeah.
In many sports. How many times we've seen some dark horse come out of nowhere that gelled in the playoffs and then just went on a run.
And sometimes I think it may apply more for baseball.
Yeah, New York fans don't have to go far. The Giants did that twice.
True.
Uninspiring regular season and then just rolled over everybody to win the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Ta-da! So that is our look at Major League Baseball. Next, we will be talking about some NBA off-season moves. There's been some big moves going on in the association.
Sometimes there's more activity in the off-season than there is in the regular season in the NBA.
Yeah, well, sometimes the most exciting thing in the regular season is like cheating refs. Ooh.
Cheating refs and people taking days off.
Yeah, taking days off. Well, this is far more exciting than who's taking a day off.
Or who's cheating.
Because we have had some monster trades going on. We've had, monster player movement. Kyrie Irving is now a Celtic, trade away for Isaiah Thomas and
a plethora of others.
A plethora, yes.
Plethora of others.
Oklahoma City proved that they are serious about taking away Golden State's title as top dogs as they went and grabbed Carmelo Anthony and Mr. Paul George to basically create an unholy trio of death along with Westbrook.
The unholy trio of death.
So OKC suddenly turned themselves into a superpower. And lastly, we have Houston, who figured they just weren't good enough. So let's go get Chris Paul.
Hey, something ironic to me is when you see the commercials with Chris Paul and James Harden, and they're playing Madden, and you see Harden's playing quarterback. Isn't Paul the revered passer? Shouldn't Paul be, using Tom Brady and James Harden calling him to throw him the ball? Shouldn't roles be reversed in this ad?
Yeah, this is some kind of an inside joke that we're not getting here.
We're not privy to.
Yeah. Either that or they're just messing with our minds.
Maybe. Though Harden did dish out a lot of assists last year, but you still think of Paul more as a playmaker. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, Harden definitely is the scorer on that team.
Yes.
Paul is there to basically support him.
And who can ever forget the Cleveland Cavaliers pensioner tour? Derrick Rose,
loving their team, the 2010 All-Star team.
Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James. Well, James still has something left, but
yeah, he's a good kid. He tries hard.
I mean, I heard today on a
Dwayne Wade
that allegedly the Cleveland starting five this year is supposed to be Derrick Rose and Dwayne Wade in the backcourt. And then LeBron James, Jay Crowder, and then Kevin Love in the post at 5. And if that's true, the Cavs could be great for overs. Because not just will they score, they'll give up points.
Yeah. That is an interesting mishmash of players. Like, obviously Cleveland is going with the experienced veterans who've been there before, except for Rose, I guess.
You can say that again.
It's an interesting thought. Will that actually bust them through? Because it'll be a question of their youth against other teams or their experience or agedness going with other teams' youth. Such as Oklahoma, and also, of course, the Warriors.
Warriors are going to run this team right out of the state, no matter where they play.
Yeah, you don't see Cleveland putting up any resistance against the Warriors.
Less now.
Well,
I mean, Derrick Rose used to be about speed, but he's not anymore. Well, unless they're going to slow it down. But if they try to go with pace again, if they try to slow it down, maybe it works out a bit better. I still don't see them winning. But if they try to run with them, it is so over.
Will Cleveland even get there? Will they even get out of the East?
Will they even get out their end if they try to run with Golden State? Will they even get out the East? I don't know. LeBron always seems to get out of the East.
Yeah.
But Kyrie and the Celtics may be a legitimate contender now. I think a lot depends on what shape does Isaiah Thomas show up in later. Is he ready to go later in the year?
Right.
Yeah, that'll be the biggest contender I could think of.
Raptors, do they have anything going for them?
I don't know.
They've been a team on the rise for the last 3 years. Is this the team?
But it seems to be stagnant in the playoffs.
That is true. They haven't been able to really prove themselves in the playoffs yet.
Same thing with Washington.
Yeah, Washington is a team on the rise, but yeah, they also look like they're not quite ready for prime time yet. Yeah, and I guess really in the East, I don't see anybody obvious because all the power is pretty much in the West.
Oh, is it ever in the West?
The West.
Well, think how much of the power was in the West last year. That's where the power was last year.
Yeah.
And now Paul George and Carmelo move over to the West on top of that.
Yeah, so basically we have in the Western Conference, so we got basically Houston got better.
We think. We got to see how the chemistry fits out with all the
think, but on paper,
better.
They got better. OKC got better. Golden State is just better.
Yeah. Well, Durant took less money to keep the band together.
There you go. What about the Spurs? Are they still going to be contenders, or is this a year where they start to drop?
Or maybe plateau where they were last year. Yeah, I don't know, because they didn't look like serious contenders to me last year, and I don't see how they got better in the offseason.
What about the Pelicans? It's a team that intrigues me, especially after their trade to get Cousins last year. They got the deadly duo there now.
Man, no one can match them inside. No one in the league.
So that's the thing. I'm surprised that actually the Pelicans didn't go out and get like a third to make their own unholy trio.
We've had the Ben as a free agent. I don't know what else they have left to trade.
But I still say watch out for the Pelicans.
I don't see them making a championship run by any I don't even know if they make the playoffs in the West, though I wouldn't underestimate them. But man, they can be great to peg for upsets on certain nights. Speaking of bets and that, I kind of like the Cavs for a lot of overs this year.
Very true.
And maybe even the Denver Nuggets for a lot of overs as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, the Nuggets, do you think this is a year in which they kind of reach a new echelon, or are they just kind of like a good team with a lot of scoring, but still a ways to go before they can challenge some of the big dogs?
Still a ways to go challenge the big dogs. They might have a shot at getting the playoffs, and that itself in the West is an accomplishment.
That is true.
Don't forget, Utah comes back a big notch without Gordon Hayward.
That's true. And also in the NBA, we have an intriguing season opener.
Actually, right now I'm going to say whenever Denver faces Cleveland, I'm going to expect Denver to run Cleveland right out of the building if it's in Denver. I don't know about in Cleveland, but in Denver, expect them to run those old men going into the altitude in Denver.
Yep, they do have a natural...
Somebody get them some help and some gas masks.
I was in Denver once a few years back, and they're not kidding about the altitude. For the first 2 days, I was sucking wind just trying to cross a street.
Wow. I got to look to see when Cleveland's going there.
So,
I don't care if it's October, November, February. I need to circle that on my calendar.
Oh, yeah. No, that is a legitimate advantage that every single Denver team has, is that insane altitude. NBA season opener. We got a good matchup here.
Oh, Boston, Cleveland.
Former friends, now bitter rivals.
Were they ever really friends, or was there always a tension?
Kyrie and LeBron together again.
Ooh, it's going to be a good time. I'm just getting oh man, it's hard to say because LeBron could really take over and dominate a game. But you look at that game, Boston's not as deep as they were because they had to get rid of a lot of their deep talent for Hayward and Irving and trades and that. But man, I'm looking at that game, and Boston definitely has the better coach. Stevens over Lou, which has always been the case. But now you have Hayward, who's no LeBron, but you have at least a legitimate star. I wouldn't call him superstar. You have Kyrie. Man, unless LeBron's defending Kyrie, I just see Kyrie blowing by Derrick Rose all night long. Well, as long as Rose's knees actually hold up through the game, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just see that being an ugly. Over the course of the year, I don't know about Boston overtaking Cleveland, but on opening night,
yeah,
I kind of think Kyrie's the guy with something to prove.
So you think that Kyrie can lead the Celtics to big things in that conference?
I think so. I don't know if they beat Cleveland in the playoffs, but I think during the regular season it'll be interesting, and I think opening night, I kind of like Boston.
All right. Return of the Celtics, that'll make a lot of people happy. That's one of the original powerhouses of the NBA, so it's I always find it gratifying when one of these old school powerhouse teams kind of rises again. Except for the Lakers, I don't care about them. I'm glad that they.
I don't usually have the hatred for them you do, but since LeVar Ball's predicting to win 50 games this year, it's like, yeah, I want to see this. No, I don't want to see this.
As the only part about the the Lakers that is kind of fun is the whole LeVar Ball, Lonzo Ball thing.
$495 runners. And then he's not even wearing them during the preseason for every game.
Not even wearing them, and when you ask him why did they price him at that price, he said because they could. That's the reason. Love it. Love the Ball family. That is our look at the NBA. We will take a look at some NHL action. Starting off in good old Las Vegas. They are undefeated so far to start the season.
2-0. Usually I'd laugh about that Ball thing. I'm just too speechless to laugh about the Ball family. Anyways, Vegas into 2-0. Marc-Andre Fleury just off to an unbelievable start, plus emotion. Thing they're doing tonight in Vegas, well, because we do this on Tuesday. It's their season opener. I don't know how the game's going. But apparently they're removing the odds on the boards in Vegas for the season opener and putting Vegas strong there. So I think that's a good thing to do for the season opener, considering all the tragedy that happened there recently.
No, definitely. It's definitely a good thing for the city to kind of try to rise up from the horrible, horrible tragedy that happened previous week with the shooter in Las Vegas murdering 58 people and injuring hundreds. So yeah, it's a tough time for Vegas, but at least for now, the Golden Knights are at least giving them a little something to be to have a little joy about. And yeah, the Vegas Strong, yeah, great, love it that they're pulling that out. We also have had this week it is week 1, so we've had some pretty mad scores in the NHL.
Chicago 10-1 over Pittsburgh.
There you go, Stanley Cup champions, put in your place. Bunch of ham and eggers, a bunch of tomato cans. Chicago opened up Pittsburgh like the tomato cans that they are. No more Stanley Cup for Pittsburgh.
No mercy.
No mercy. Get to the White House. Don't take no jersey either.
After 2 straight runs in... That's right. The Penguins went to the White House and didn't take a jersey to Trump.
You just know a tweet's coming out for that one.
Oh, yeah. Now, the question is, does he insult the Penguins or does he try to put a twist like he sometimes does, is some diplomatic thing that he didn't want a jersey? Because he could go either route. He could he could go complete, like, off the rails insulting, or he could do the save face BS thing.
I'd like to see the odds makers, like,
set the line on
candy cap that one. Yeah, we also had the Jersey Devils blasting the Buffalo Sabres 6-2. Jersey, they suddenly have goals. They can score again.
Wow!
I think last season it took them 2 months to score 6 goals total. They did this in one game.
Oh, I hope this is a sign of things to come for them and not the month's quota. They're shut out for the next week. No one knows what to do. Everyone's at a loss. People are crying. No, I hope this is a turnaround for them.
All Jersey had to do was finish third last in the league, then win the lottery, then pick Nico Hischier for all this success to happen.
And he got his first point the other day, too.
Nothing but blue skies ahead for the Garden State.
Which is more than you can say for the Islanders, who get an extension to stay at the Barclays Center till after 2018, 2019. Oh. So they're not kicked out of Brooklyn yet. They get another year.
Oh, it's like a stay of execution.
Exactly.
Speaking of execution, Toronto crushed another New York team 8-5 in Week 1 action.
Toronto in a couple of high-scoring games to start the year before it settled down against Chicago the other night. Was it 7-2 against Winnipeg opening night, 8-5 against the Rangers, but he took a commanding 5-1 lead, blew it to go to 5-5, and pulled away to 8-5.
Yep. They hat-tricked their way to a victory in the end.
The 1980s called this game to tell them they were proud. What a shootout. And Winnipeg-Toronto, that game, the 7-2, the Leafs and the Jets now have gone over the total in 11 straight meetings.
Unbelievable. So there you go. For those of you looking to put an over-under on this game,
if they face again, yeah. Jets Toronto, over.
Go for the over.
One day it's going to go under again, but just ride it till it crashes.
Speaking of crash, Calgary finally crashed a dubious record that they had.
You know, we have epic like and epic second at the end of the show, but this is just pure epic. 29 straight games without a win in Anaheim dating back to 2006. They hadn't won at the Honda Center since 2006 till last night. The Flames probably go out on the street and see a Honda and start going into convulsions before last night's game, just thinking of trips to Anaheim.
I'm sure Flames fans, just in protest, haven't bought a Honda in 11 years.
Just how'd you do that? 29 games, 11 years?
Probably Honda dealerships aren't even given a business license in the city of Calgary for the last decade.
No. People just, I want to rent a Honda. You're a tourist. Get out.
Get out. Go back to Edmonton.
Go back to Edmonton. People from Edmonton might be driving down there and Hondas just to prank them and terrorize them. Beep, 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 beep. Look at me. Oilers flags waving. Anaheim bumper sticker just by the Honda logo just to rub it in more.
That is unbelievable. 29 games, right?
29 games since 2006.
That is just mind-numbing. Like, you would have thought by accident they would have snuck one out. Like 29 games without a victory.
George Bush was still the president.
The first one?
The second one.
Oh.
But still, you went through the whole 8 years of Obama, a few months of Trump.
It's been a long time.
Like a couple years of Bush. Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. The U.S. was at least $10 trillion in less debt back then.
Ooh. Actually, what year did the iPhone come out?
Probably around that time, actually.
I'm thinking, was this when before the smartphones came out, or around the time the smartphones?
It might be around that same time.
Wow!
So the The iPhone is to blame. Once again, Steve Jobs to blame. And speaking of blame, Alex Ovechkin is obviously angry at the NHL for not allowing the players to go to the Olympics. So he is taking it out on the entire league by scoring 7 goals in 3 games now. And that puts him on a pace for how many goals in a season?
For 200. You know what? I don't like to deal in hyperbole, but he's on pace for a 200-goal season. You ever notice when someone says they don't want to deal in hyperbole, they go and just throw out hyperbole?
They hyperbole?
They hyperbole, yeah. I don't believe in hyperbole, but he's on pace for a 200-goal season.
No,
you can't argue the numbers.
You can't argue the numbers. He's gotten on average of 2.5 goals a game. There's 81 games a season. Quick math tells you these are 200 goals. So those of you in hockey pools, take Ovechkin no matter what it costs you. You have a 200-goal season coming up. Bank on it.
Amazing.
Guaranteed. And that was our recap for the first week of NHL goodness. And finally we get to the last segment of the show, which is our ever popular, the Epic and Suck of the Week.
Do we lead off with our epic?
We are leading off with our epic.
Well, as we do this show, we're doing it on Tuesday, and for the first time ever, we have breaking news. Adrian Peterson traded from New Orleans to Arizona for a conditional 6th-round pick in 2018 after 4 games and 81 yards rushing. And ironically, last month, Chris Johnson of Arizona tweeting, Adrian Peterson needs more touches. Chris Johnson's been released to make room for Adrian Peterson.
By your own words, Chris Johnson, you have sealed your own fate. Today is a very special tag team edition of the Epic because this story is absolutely the definition of epic. It's why we came up with this segment to begin with. This story is so grand, so amazing, so legendary.
Just like Adrian Peterson's numbers this year.
Yes, speaking of numbers, so far the legendary, soon-to-be Hall of Famer has played 4 games and gotten 81 yards.
He is averaging an amazing 20 yards per game.
20.25. I'll have you know.
You know what? We shouldn't be cheating him.
20 and a quarter yards
per game.
Per game. Not anyone can do that.
No.
Actually, most players do better than that.
The bulk majority.
But you
Us
know what?
receiving backs do better than that.
But you know what? Good for Arizona for taking a chance on this young, plucky running back. He's got a future ahead of him. He's got a name.
He can do some things in this
He
game.
can do some damage in this game. Kudos to them for making a smart trade, giving away just a measly 6th-round pick. They basically traded a kicker for Adrian Peterson.
It's low risk.
It's no risk.
Yeah, but no.
I mean, Adrian Peterson, he's a good young guy. He's a lot of big future ahead of him.
The question you have to ask is, why didn't the Giants make this deal a week or two ago?
Because the Giants need about 50 players as well as Adrian Peterson.
Be interesting to see how this pans out. Does he find a second life because he gets carries? Or is he done? I don't think he returns to his Minnesota form, but top end maybe gives him some production.
Well, he's going to do better.
Well, he's going to do better than he did in New Orleans.
He's going to do better because doing worse
isn't an option.
Is impossible. Is simply impossible. If he basically makes it, even if he takes every snap and runs reverse, he will still get more yards than he was getting in New Orleans.
Hey, you don't want to underestimate that 20.25 a game.
I am underestimating it. Yes, I am.
I don't believe it.
So Adrian Peterson going to Arizona, that is our epic of the week.
Oh, for sure. We even had to share on it. It was so massively epic.
Go AP.
Go AP.
And that takes us to our suck of the week. And for this, we have our own independent suckage.
We do.
Body, I'll let you start.
Yeah, Calgary Flames ownership. So there was a report in the Globe and Mail, I looked at it a day or two ago, And no real surprise here. And the report was saying that the main issue with the Flames ownership wanting a new arena is because they want it in an area where they want to build real estate around it. Now, I knew it was supposed to be in a nice area of Calgary, a more prosperous area apparently, but it looks like this new arena they want might be more about the real estate and developing around the arena than it actually is about the arena. So this is an ownership group holding a city hostage for real estate more than anything. It's always about money, but it's not just about the stadium. So even if the city has a decent offer, I don't know how seriously this group will take it, because it sounds like they're greedy for the real estate around the arena too in a certain area of town. And yeah, I mean, we hear enough stories that are sickening about team ownerships in different North American markets and sports holding cities hostages, but to do it for real estate, probably not the first time it's happened, I'm sure. Yeah, it just disgusts me to an extra level. So epic suck to the Flames ownership and their whole crying wolf, we can't make it. No, you just want more.
Very true. And my suck also actually has to do with ownership, as Anthemgate has reared its ugly head once again this past weekend. As everyone I'm sure is very familiar that basically Donald Trump has been telling the NFL that he demands that every player stand up and da-da-da-da. And so at first the players obviously rebelled against this, and then the owners surprisingly joined the players in rebelling against this. But all of a sudden this weekend, Vice President Pence goes to the Indianapolis Colts game, which apparently was the first game he's been there in like 3 years, and he basically went there and he said that if anybody doesn't stand for the game, he's going to leave immediately. So that's what he did. And now you have owners like Jerry Jones demanding that all of his players must stand for the anthem, and any player that doesn't stand for the anthem will sit for the rest of the game. So this is a case in which the owners, I think, are just getting carried away now with this. It's like, at first I was like, I didn't want the players doing this protest during the anthem. I wish that they would pick a different way of doing it. But now, though, that we have basically all these owners kind of like trying to strong-arm these guys, it really sounds like now. And also the government, for some reason, constantly sticking their nose in it. I'm just like, people, just let it go. I think the owners are making this a bigger issue than it should be, because if they would have just left this alone, eventually the players will have made their statement, and this would have moved on. If owners would have taken more of the stance, like Martha Ford did in Detroit, by offering to talk to the players and to help fund organizations that they care about, and organizations that will actually help the black communities, that's a positive step. Mm-hmm. Because if there's one thing that all these owners have is money. They have lots of money, they have lots of power, they have lots of resources. If they were to use all those resources to basically focus on these issues that all these NFL players are protesting against, that would be a far greater use of their time, resources, and energy than basically coming down and demanding that, forbidding players from doing basically really a right.
So let me get this straight. The owners were against it when Kaepernick and a few players were doing it.
Yep.
Then they were in on it when Trump said something they didn't like.
Yep.
And now they're totally against it.
Now they're totally against it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep.
The other thing I'd like to see, and I don't know if the players will do it, what if half a team decides to drop? What, you're going to bench half the team? Good luck with that.
So I'd be very interested to see if any of these owners, such as Jerry Jones of the Cowboys, that have given ultimatums to their players, I would like to see what would happen if their players call their bluff.
Mm-hmm. Like not one or two, but if you have a bunch of players united,
the entire Cowboys team, anthem starts, bang, they kneel. What are you going to do?
Good luck.
You're going to fire? You're going to cut every single Cowboy player?
Can you imagine even if half go and Prescott? Well, I don't think Prescott would do it. He seems like he wouldn't do it. But, well, I don't think Ezekiel will now too, because he's so tied to Jerry Jones. But
you never know.
But you never know.
Team
but if
unity,
some of these guys, yeah, I'd like to see it.
Yeah, it's one of these where, same thing. It's like, let's just leave politics out of sports. And yeah, politicians, stop meddling in sports. Leave sports alone.
The classic one was a couple weeks ago. Did you catch Ray Lewis there? Ray Lewis was anti-protest. And then when Baltimore went to London to play against Jacksonville, he kneeled and joined arms with the players at the national anthem. And then he said he wasn't kneeling in protest because he was actually praying because the players didn't know what to do. So he's praying to God for guidance. That was his out.
Okay. I would say that he's got a lot to beg forgiveness for. And with that, we are done with another edition of the Body and Mind Sports Show. Remember to like us and please subscribe to our channel. Body, thanks again for another great show.
Thanks again, Mind. Finishing strong!
Finishing strong. Vegas strong. Go Vegas. Love you, Vegas.
Vegas strong.
And with that, that's another episode of the Body and Mind Show. Thanks for listening.